Welcome to Incredible Idaho. I'm Mike Connaughton, and tonight's show begins with the story of Idaho's mule deer population. For a long period, the population remained fairly high, especially in the southeast corner of our state. But years of drought in the late 80s and early 90s began to take a toll on the deer. Drought can rob plants of nutrition, and after nearly a decade of poor nourishment, the harsh winter of 92-93 hit, and the deer population crashed in parts of our state. But the deep snows had ended the drought, so biologists expected deer populations to bounce back. But that hasn't been the case, and now a new study has been launched to find out why.
We found out that through research that the major aspect of deer populations we have to look at is fawn mortality in the winter. That's what bounces up and down, that's what drives our population.
Research has also indicated that the number of fawns that survive a winter can range from a high of 80% to only 20%. But what are the limiting factors? To answer that question and others, the Idaho Department of Fish and Game has launched a major operation designed to capture and radio collar fawns throughout southern Idaho.
Yeah, our priority this morning is fawns. The fawns are the ones we really want to get, so if you've got to choose between this doe and that fawn, get the fawn. You know, if we have the doe in hand and we've got time, we'll work on her and take some blood, but we really want those fawns.
An undertaking like this requires plenty of hands, and the community of Chalice has answered the call for volunteers. Sportsmen, landowners, outfitters, and Chuck Charlton's high school biology class have all turned out to help build the trap that will entangle the deer.
One, I'd like to have them get appreciation for the wildlife and what they have to do, you know, to go through the winters, and to also have appreciation for what the Fish and Game is trying to do with their programs as well.
You should have some droop between each ones. You never want it tight, but if it's always falling down, then you're in trouble. But that's how it works. When a deer hits it, the whole dang thing falls down. That's what we want.
Jackets are shed as everyone digs in to help. Building a fence up this steep slope is labor-intensive and not for the faint-hearted. But it's a sunny winter day, and the view from the mountainside is spectacular. And maybe, just maybe, each volunteer will get an opportunity to get up close and personal with wildlife.
When these critters come in, I want everybody's head right in the snow. Don't watch. We'll tell you, you'll hear when it's happening, I guarantee you. But even though the sticks are breaking right above you, just keep your head down, because that's the best way to not get clotheslined.
The helicopter is going to find the deer in the general area, move them kind of slowly towards the drive nets that are set up just out of sight, usually over the crest of a hill or a ridge. And then when the deer are real close to the net and just before they see it, the helicopter puts a lot of pressure on so that they come into the net real quickly. And they don't have time to stop and think and look at it. And generally the net collapses on the deer then, and they're tangled up in it. Then we can go to work.
It's sort of like watching an old chase cartoon, like the Roadrunner and the Coyote. The helicopter appears and disappears in persistent pursuit of animals, but the deer keep frustrating the flying ship, ducking and dodging in different directions.
They don't want to come down off the hill with the shit.
The capture crew waits, killing time on the snowy hillside. It's a pretty day in Rimrock country south of Chalice. A light breeze stirs the grasses, while up above the same breeze intensifies, chasing harmless puffs of clouds across a bright blue sky. The high school kids engage in a friendly snowball fight, lobbing big blobs of the stuff in celebration of a day without formal classes. But eventually, everybody settles down, waiting for the action to come closer. And then finally, it does.
Okay, got a doe coming up the hill now to you, right on the first crest of the hill, towards the base of the hill. Got a fawn coming in behind her.
Okay, the fawn's in. Fawn's in.
Get on it.
Get on it. Okay, the doe's in.
A biologist leaps on the animal to keep it from further entangling itself. Others join him, and the fawn is freed from the fence and shifted so it can be comfortably processed.
Chest girth, 71.
Blood samples and measurements are taken, including the weight of each fawn.
Here,
64.
The physical condition and general health of the fawn may be critical factors in its potential to survive a harsh winter or its ability to elude predators. It's crucial information that will be factored into the fawn mortality study.
So got two coming in towards lower end midsection. We are 400 yards out.
Long term, we want to know a little bit more about what it is that's limiting these deer herds. You know, are they habitat limited? Or long term, is it predators? Is it weather? Is it a combination of all those things? And we hope to learn some of that by not only measuring fawn mortality over the winter, but looking at the size and condition of the animals that we do catch.
100 yards, we're at the base of the hill. We're halfway up the hill. We're getting there. We're getting there. We're at the top of the hill. We're getting there. By golly, we're in the net.
Only one of the deer ends up in the net for a grand total of just 3 animals captured by mid-afternoon. Not exactly the numbers the biologists were anticipating.
Well, in my opinion, I'd say let's roll her up and move upriver.
10-4, let's go ahead then.
The captured deer is released and springs away, quick to escape its human captors.
3 deer is not a wonderful day. Sometimes that happens. The deer didn't cooperate today, and we're not done yet. We're going to try another set or 2 today and see what happens. We are gone. Oh, we've got another sight. More deer and good wind, so let's try it. Swan, we can continue that. So go ahead and bring some more in.
We're out of here, dude.
More deer! More deer!
Believe it or not, it's normal to lose half of the fawn population over the winter. That's the average. But by radio collaring these young deer and tracking their mortality, biologists can use the information to adjust hunting seasons each year, according to fawn survival, whether it's 20% or 80%.
I hope this becomes an annual thing, because really, at least for the short term, to know how the deer herd is going to be next fall, we really need to look at this fawn mortality over winter. That can be tremendously variable.
The capture operation near Chalice is just one of several going on all over southern Idaho, from the mountains east of Pocatello to the rolling hill country of Brownlee Reservoir in the west. Each region is marking a certain number of fawns, providing fish and game biologists with improved information to help better manage mule deer populations throughout the state. It's a huge undertaking, and nearly 300 sportsmen have been involved in the effort statewide, volunteering their time for wildlife.
We got a small tag fee increase last winter to do more deer and elk monitoring. Some of it we're using for additional aerial surveys on deer and elk, and some of it's going into this fawn mortality project all across southern Idaho.
The sun is already threatening to dip behind the mountains as the capture crew begins the arduous task of setting up the long fence for the second time. The new site, several miles south of Chalice, sits on an east-facing slope, so it will soon be hidden in shadow. But bright sunshine still highlights the helicopter in the distance as it searches for unsuspecting deer to drive into the trap.
Okay, we got 9 heads working your way.
Okay, you guys copy down at that end? Get in position.
It's a whole different ballgame this time. The sound of the rapidly approaching helicopter sends the crew dashing for cover of sagebrush. In moments, the first deer hits the net. It's an adult female. But that's just the beginning. Further down, 2 fawns have also become entangled in the trap and are being processed by another part of the capture crew. And the chase is on.
Yeah.
Okay, we are 400 yards inbound with 1 doe fawn.
All right, down, down.
A fawn hits the net and 4 crew members spring from the brush to tackle the animal. And just seconds later, another deer runs toward the trap.
Okay, stay down. It'll hit it. Okay. She'll hit her. Ha!
But with an agility and grace that's a wonder to watch, she sails above the fence and springs away. mocking the efforts of humans to hold her. In the meantime, crews are working on fawns that didn't manage to escape. The first step is to slip a blindfold on the deer. In theory, this is to help calm the animal, although it doesn't seem to be working with this young doe.
I'm putting a collar on this one, and because she's going to wear it for about a year, we're going to have to give her a little slack so she's got room to grow.
What's your time frame? Should we shut down for a minute or let her roll?
I think we're probably going to be all right. We're not going to be over about 5, I don't think. How's that for an optimist?
Each deer also gets a set of ear tags, identifying the animal with a number. And throughout the winter, the deer will be tracked with radio receivers by the Chalice High School biology class with assistance from Fish and Game.
Okay, I think the top end is ready with the nets. We're just working this fawn, but we can continue that. So go ahead and bring some more in.
We're out of here, dude.
More deer! More deer! For a few months, all we need to know is whether they're alive or not. We get a mortality signal. Then we're going to have to go in on the deer and find out what's wrong. Was it poor condition? Was it, accidental death? Was it predator kill? We'll try and determine those. And to do that, you've got to detect the mortality as soon as you can, and then go look at the animal.
As the helicopter searches for more deer, the last of the captured fawns is released.
Okay, watch it. Okay. No.
Come on. No.
Okay. Let's the rest of us get ourselves down in the center of things. He's inbound with a whole bunch, he says.
Deer begin hitting the net all over the trap site. Each time an animal gets caught, several biologists and volunteers spring into action, dashing to the trapped deer before it entangles itself further.
Yeah. Bring on Barry Sanders.
The mood has definitely lightened now that the trapping operation looks to be successful. But the purpose behind the capture is serious. Along with the management information that will be gathered on fawn mortality, a corresponding long-term study has been implemented researching the impact of predators on deer populations.
Easy, girl.
The day is fading. A setting sun has washed the sky in a pink glow. But as long as there's light to fly and critters to capture, the crew will go on. Wildlife biologist Mike Scott informs us that as of early February, 6 of the original 45 fawns captured near Chalice are dead. 1 was a lion kill, another was taken by wolves, and 3 were probably coyote kills. The 6th deer was found soon after it was collared and may have died from the stress of the capture. So far, the total adds up to about 13% of the captured fawns, but then there's still a lot of winter to come. Up next, the Conservation Data Center, finding the facts on fauna and flora. Scientists have been collecting data on wild animals and fish for years. From the observations of the early mountain men jotted down in old journals to today's helicopter surveys conducted to monitor trends in deer and elk populations. It's important information that can be critical for decision makers, whether it's a question of developing an area for a new park or determining whether a specific species should be listed as endangered. But it's always been a time-consuming process to track down this scattered data. That is until now.
This is the central clearinghouse for this type of information in Idaho. And in the 14 years we've been operating, we've established pretty well this clearinghouse role.
It's called the Conservation Data Center, and it's located at Fish and Game headquarters in Boise. In an office that reminds one of the subdued atmosphere of a library, people sit quietly, entering all kinds of information into a central database. Much of it pertains to rare species of animals and plants, and the habitats where they're found. It's the kind of information that used to be stacked into drawers like these, hard to retrieve and not necessarily cross-filed to every reference. Fisheries biologist Steve Yunt says that using the database to retrieve information for research has not only saved him countless hours, it's more accurate and virtually eliminates human error.
We can do it quickly, we can get information out, and we can do it with fewer people once the data files are built. With all of this endangered species stuff that we're being inundated with, it's going to save us a lot of time to be able to look at these questions electronically.
Idaho's bull trout have recently been listed under the Federal Endangered Species Act. A recovery plan for the fish is dependent upon the gathering and distribution of accurate information. Now, findings from field studies can be entered into the same data format, whether the research has been conducted by Fish and Game's own scientists or biologists associated with other agencies like the Forest Service or the Bureau of Reclamation. The results may be a map that looks like this.
The bright pink is where we have bull trout documented as present. The green are areas where we know we do not have bull trout. The blue here are areas that we suspect we have bull trout, but we haven't looked yet.
Bart Butterfield heads up the Geographic Information System, or GIS, unit at Fish and Game. These are the folks who take data supplied to them, such as the locations of bull trout populations, and build standardized maps reflecting the information.
One of the things that sets GIS off from other kinds of graphical packages is that all the data in it is geographically referenced. That means it has a latitude and longitude that tells you where it is. So you can bring in other information like land ownership or towns, any of those sorts of things, and the layover. You can use it right with these data layers.
Bart uses this map on lynx sightings in Idaho as an example of the layering.
Recently, the Canada lynx has been petitioned to be listed as a threatened and endangered species. So we've put together a database of all the historic lynx occurrences in the state of Idaho. These are observations of Canada lynx that we have put together anywhere from 1874 all the way to current years, and we categorize these, made a cutoff point of 1976. So everything in red is previous to 1976. All the blue dots are since 1976. And we can just quickly see if the range of Canada lynx in Idaho has changed in those two time periods.
Lynx sightings from 1874? Where does one find all this information? Well, one place to start would be here. This is a series of topographic maps that covers the whole state of Idaho. For years, long before the advent of tools like GIS, scientists like Bob Mosley have been marking the occurrences of rare species of plants and animals on these maps.
The orange dots here represent different populations of fish. We have some red dots here that indicate wildlife species, in this case, flammulated owl and a bald eagle. These fish here are bull trout and sturgeon. There's also some rare plant species.
Some of this data has been transferred to GIS, but it's an enormous task. There's 1,800 maps like this just on Idaho, containing an incredible backlog of information. So for now, the Conservation Data Center continues to enter historic information as time allows, but much of the day is spent responding to requests from others.
We distribute information to, of course, all the big land managing agencies, the federal land managing agencies in Idaho. We also have quite a few consultants that are working for county planners to all the way up to Air Force contractors that would come to us for information.
And academic researchers, wildlife and fisheries biologists, botanists, and even requests from other countries. With a standardized data center, all these entities can be served. And ultimately, that serves us by helping to preserve and to protect Idaho's wildlife and wild places.
If we can bring all that together into an information system that's standard across the state, that's going to save our biologists a lot of time. It's going to save private individuals a lot of time trying to get the information they need. I think it's going to help management of fish and wildlife a lot.
Up next, the call of the wild. On tonight's Creature Feature, we profile the trumpeter swan, a beautiful, graceful bird that once spread its wings over the entire continental United States. 125 years of commercial harvest, coupled with the destruction of critical wetlands, decimated the trumpeter population. Records kept by the Hudson Bay Company show that more than 100,000 swan skins, most of them trumpeters, were traded between 1820 and 1880. By the turn of the century, the trumpeter swan was thought to be extinct. But in the early 1900s, small flocks of them were found near Yellowstone, protected from hunters by the country's first national park. One of these groups, in the Harriman Park area of Idaho, was sustained by the warm waters of the Henry's Fork. Although biologists later discovered large numbers of trumpeters in the wilderness of Alaska, up until the 1950s, this area was considered the last remaining refuge for the world's largest waterfowl.